It's Michael Popok, and it's time for Legal AF After Dark. E Jean Carroll case resumes. Donald Trump may or may not testify. Alina Habba may or may not have lied to a federal judge. All that and so much more on our recent episode of Legal AF. And here's a clip. So let's start with the E Jean Carroll where you left off. So now we've got Alina Habba. We got an Alina Habba problem because Alina Habba, in order to obtain something that she couldn't get naturally, which was to delay the Trump testimony until after the New Hampshire primary, doubled down on her being ill when she looks like she wasn't really ill. What I think happened is the following, and I'm piecing this together from reporting and what I know about trial practice. The judge reported to the lawyers that, it was, by the way, great save, KFA. Did I thank her enough? That's great save. I was off watching you instead of participating. The jury is 9 people, but there are 2 alternates because of some people get sick and have family emergencies and trials have to continue. The judge has given an inordinate amount of time here to delay the trial because of one juror coming up with potential COVID. When it was obvious that the judge could reach into the alternate pool and pull one of the 2 alternates and put them into the box. That's not what Alina Habba wanted for Donald Trump. She wanted desperately to have Donald Trump testify after the New Hampshire primary, if at all, and not before. And so I believe, sensing that the judge was leaning towards replacing the sick juror and moving forward with the trial as E. Jean Carroll's lawyer wanted, Robbie Kaplan, she then decided to double down on that, seeing an opening as an opportunist, and said, well, I'm not feeling well either, Your Honor. I've got a fever, and my parents had COVID, and I was with them. Now, if I was a judge, I'd be like, well, you're sitting next to your client who's 80 years old without wearing a mask, so how bad could your illness be? But again, he took her at face value. And then that combination of the juror number 3 who needed a COVID test and Alina Habba complaining about having a fever, the judge was like, let's go dark for a day or 2 and we'll revisit the issue. Now, I don't think the judge is going to be that thrilled when he sees the photos that are out there now of Alina Habba. There's a thank you for the arrow, Salty, with Alina Habba standing next to Donald Trump or near Donald Trump at New Hampshire. She's also a legal advisor. And there's a great photo of a MAGA supporter who's taking a shot with Alina Habba. By the way, that we now have reporting, or this information's out there by this guy, self-reported, that after he posted that photo, because of course Trump camp didn't like that photo being out there that could be used in court, he got barred and banned from a Trump event. And it was all complaining like, I'm one of your biggest supporters. I can't believe I've been banned. Welcome to Trump world. Okay, you posted a photo of Alina Habba, at the event, which you probably shouldn't have. So I think there's going to be, I've been checking the docket to see if Robbie Kaplan and E. Jean Carroll's lawyer would make an issue of it, because I think we have extended this trial longer than it needs to be. This trial is almost done. There's only 1 or 2 witnesses left, maybe, if Donald Trump testifies. Everything else is in the can. We're left with closing arguments, jury instruction, and deliberation. And so that could be this week. The other trial, the trial of E. Jean Carroll over the summer, also took 5 or 6 days then to get to jury and jury deliberation. So this, let me ask you the first thing. What do you think the judge is going to do, Karen? Is he going to make an issue out of Alina Habba, telling him that she was potentially also sick and then going off to New Hampshire? Or is he just going to open the court tomorrow and get the jury back in the box and start taking evidence?
Well, I think he's going to mention it for sure. I think that at this point now, he is going to restart the trial. And because she's clearly not sick and they're supposed to be back tomorrow, and potentially reseat the alternates, seat the alternates in and make them part of the jury. They can go with fewer jurors as well. So I think he's going to get started, and we'll see what happens if Trump does testify or not. That's going to be really the thing to watch, because if you notice, it was like the battle of the letter briefs the last couple of days, right? Back and forth between Alina Habba and Robbie Kaplan, who's representing E. Jean Carroll. And they're back and forth on all these various issues. Habba's asking for a mistrial. Kaplan saying you've already asked for that, and it was denied. Kaplan, as in Robbie Kaplan, not Judge Kaplan, it gets really confusing here. Also, Alina Habba says there's a duty to mitigate, and again, Robbie Kaplan fires back, no, there isn't. And, just lots and lots of stuff back and forth. Even if there was a duty to mitigate, you can't just raise it mid-trial. You can't just change defenses now if there's an affirmative defense. And so it was a lot of back and forth. So there's still some stuff that needs to be resolved by the court. But the thing to watch is the letter that Robbie Kaplan gave to the court about Donald Trump's testimony, and basically said that you got to control him, Judge. He already has said he wants to use his time in court to basically say things that you've already ruled are inadmissible, because don't forget, they've already determined that, number one, E Jean Carroll was raped, right? That is not up for debate. They've already also determined by a prior jury, and so it applies to this case too, that he acted with malice or malicious intent and has defamed her, that his statements were defamatory. And so the only thing left to discuss is how much money, damages, right? How much money does he have to pay, because he keeps going on and on and on. And as he said, he is going to repeat his lies 1,000 times, right? He said that. And Robbie Kaplan cited that in her letter brief to Judge Kaplan, saying he himself has said he's going to do it 1,000 times. And so there's a lot of stuff that lawyers are asking the judge to rule on. I think also interestingly that came out in this particular letter brief exchange was Robbie Kaplan said, we are no longer, although we said, Judge, we wanted to use the Access Hollywood tape, and we wanted to put on the two witnesses, right, that talk about that talk about statements that E Jean made. We're no longer going to do that. Okay, we are no longer going to use that in our case in chief, partly because we think that Trump is going to turn this entire thing into a campaign event. He's baiting the judge, and he said he would love for the judge to exclude him, et cetera. And so she's trying to keep the trial focused at this point on just the damages and keep his testimony focused as well. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how Judge Kaplan limits Trump's testimony, and whether Trump decides to testify or is going to claim the victim again, that they won't let him speak. And if he does testify, he's going to go off the rails. Let's see what Judge Kaplan will do. If federal court is nothing like state court, and we've said this before, and Judge Kaplan has been around the block a long time. He is a very well-respected judge who knows how to control the courtroom, control witnesses. And so he is not going to allow Donald Trump to pull the stunts that he did in Judge Engoron's case, which Judge Engoron, A, at state court, but B, there was no jury there. So it kind of doesn't matter, because Judge Engoron can ignore the things that are inadmissible and inappropriate and just only look at things that are legal and admissible. But when you have a jury in the room, if Judge Engoron had a jury in the room, he would not have allowed Donald Trump to do the things that he did. And I can tell you right now, Judge Kaplan isn't going to either. So that will be really interesting to see, really, Judge Lewis Kaplan versus Donald Trump, because that's what this is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I have one thing that could happen if Donald Trump violates all of the rules of the road that the judge has already set about the 20 things that he can't talk about, or it will be a mistrial, or he'll be sanctioned. I mean, those are pretty stiff lines in the stand, or guardrails that have been put around this trial and Donald Trump's testimony. There's just there's just more than a dozen things, categories of things that Donald Trump can't talk about, that you've listed some of them here. Donald Trump kind of heads into that direction, or is led there by Alina Habba on purpose or accidentally. Whether she tries to open the door or not, you're going to see a lot of admonishments and a lot of the jury being excused from the room, or there's going to be a lot of work at the bench, for a sidebar about the issue. And if he continues, the federal judge can do what the federal judge with Rudy Giuliani. He could ultimately not. The fear is that Donald Trump will try to throw over the game board because he's losing terribly in the courtroom to try to delay the inevitable, which is a jury verdict. But if a person tries to obtain a mistrial, as opposed to it just sort of happening, and it can't be fixed, the statements that are made can't be cured with a curative instruction of the jury, which is the first sort of line of defense for the judge. Instead of just granting a mistrial and saying, oh, we got to start all over again, the judge could find Donald Trump in default and even on the issues of damages, because this is not a liability case. As you said, Karen, the rape has been established by a judge and a jury. The defamation has been established by a judge. The elements leading into punitive damages have been established. It's only about the money now. It's only about the size of the judgment verdict by this new jury against Donald Trump. But the judge could find that Donald Trump has lost his right to have a jury decide this issue and then make the decision himself and throw the book at him financially. So it's a dangerous game that Donald Trump may try to play. I'm still not completely convinced that he takes the stand. He's going to lose whether he takes the stand or not. If he just wants to do it as a campaign moment, to grab the news cycle, that's one thing. But he's not going to win this trial. This jury is going to rule against him. I'm sure they're fed up with Alina Habba. And I'm sure nothing that Donald Trump says on the stand he's either going to stay in the box that's been given to him in color inside the lines, and that's not going to be helpful to the jury for punitive damages, or he's going to color outside of the lines and risk having a default judgment or a sanction against him or being found in contempt.
The only problem is if there's a default judge, so a defendant can't cause his own mistrial, right? Because that would incentivize bad behavior. And so the judge isn't going to do that unless there's something really, really egregious happens, obviously, and then they have to. But you really, there's a very strong public interest against allowing that. But if he's precluded from testifying, or if there's a default judgment against him, although I love that as an option, he will then, of course, play the victim card again, which is his favorite card, right? And so I think that they will do everything they can to try and rein him in and try to make this just as tight as possible. But I don't think you can rein him in, and he'll say he's the victim anyway, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to try. He's got his own agenda if he testifies. It's a mismatch between that and the justice system and the civil justice system here. And you're right. I think but fortunately, we've got a skilled practitioner in Robbie Kaplan. We've got an amazing judge in Lewis Kaplan. And then you've got a very weak trial lawyer practitioner in Alina Habba, and you've got an out of control. He's not even out of control. He's in control. He's going to do what he wants to do. Say he's out of control makes it sound like he's, this is an accident, whatever happens if he gets on the stand. But we will watch it closely, in that case, and we'll follow it the way we have. We've been dark a couple of days. It's allowed us to get some hot takes up collectively, Ben, you and me, about the case, about the trial. I've got a viewer guide that's up in hot take land, anticipating Donald Trump's testimony tomorrow. But we will have to we'll have to kind of watch that. Let's
before you move on, I want to point out one more little tiny thing.
All right.
One of the things Robbie Kaplan asked the judge to do was to make Trump make him swear that he understands the limits. She said in her letter, there are any number of reasons why Mr. Trump might perceive a personal or political benefit from intentionally turning this trial into a circus. And she said, so make him swear that he understands the limits. She wants to put him under oath to swear that he will not violate the court order because she's setting him up for contempt. So I just wanted to point that out, that she's making sure that if necessary, he can be held in contempt.
I agree with that. I think the faster you get Donald Trump under oath, the better, because of those very things. That's exactly the type of great lawyering that I would expect from our friend of the pod, Robbie Kaplan. Welcome back. That's what we do twice a week, every week. One place, MeidasTouch. Don't change that dial. Free subscribe. Help them get to 2 million. If you like lawyers talking about what they know what they're talking about at the intersection of law, politics, and justice, then you'll like Legal AF. And yes, the title means exactly what you think. We do it Wednesdays. It's me and Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Saturdays, me and Ben Meiselas. And then we do hot takes every day, every hour, to keep you up to date in real time about that intersection of law, politics, and justice. If you know all about Legal AF, thanks for being part of our journey as part of your own. If you don't know what I'm talking about at all, I'm Michael Popok. That was Legal AF. And join us Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then on audio podcast platforms of your choice. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.